Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma Lefebvre, and a little while ago I did a video on the top 3 watercolor mistakes we make as beginners and how to fix them. Well, today I'm going to take those mistakes and show you how to actually use them to your advantage in paintings to create different textures and different effects. So let's jump right in and start. Okay, so about just over a year ago, I made a video called The Top 3 Mistakes We Make as Beginners and How to Fix Them. Now today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to show you those top 3 mistakes we make as beginners and show you how to purposely use them to your advantage in paintings. I should have done this a long time ago, but I didn't. So today is the day I'm going to take those top 3 mistakes, as some may see them, and actually use them as purposeful techniques in our paintings. So the first mistake, we're just going to jump right in, was using too much water. So if you've painted with me before, I've told you the disadvantages of using too much water, especially in florals. What happens is the water pushes the pigment away and you get these kind of funky, dry, weird looking blooms, okay? They're called blooms. And it's not always desirable, but you can also use them purposefully, is that word? Purposefully in your paintings. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. So let's just jump right in. And the first thing we're going to do, and by the way, I'm just painting in my Etchr Lab cold press watercolor sketchbook. I have my Emma Lefebvre Craft Mo brushes in a size 6 and size 12, and I'm using this new palette, Milang, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and I just wanted to use something different today, so that's what we're doing. And yeah, okay, so the first thing we're going to do, sorry for the rambling, is create some loose, like, ocean water. All right, so let's do this color. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to get a fun texture in your ocean by using too much water. Okay, so here's the first trick. You can actually use your blooms to your advantage. So like I said, blooms happen when you have too much water on your brush, and the clean water basically pushes away the pigment. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit of like this sienna color for some sand. All right, so it looks pretty smooth, right? Now I'm just going to take my clean brush and I'm going to drop in some water. And these are actually going to act as waves in our ocean. I feel like we need a little bit darker color here. Okay, and once this dries, you're going to see this really cool bloom texture that kind of acts as waves just by dropping that clean water. And if it pools, that's okay. You can always kind of just move it around to where you want those little pools. I'm going to take my size 6 brush so I can just make it a bit more concentrated. And you'll see. Okay? So you'll see more when that dries, the different effect it can give. Another effect that you can do is like a splatter kind of sky. So let me just show you, let's see, or even some grass too. It looks nice on. I'm gonna grab some dark green here. Like that. And then I'm just going to take my smaller brush again, grab some clean water, and I'm just going to flick some clean splatters on there. And it can act as this, like, almost like this bokeh effect for the background. And it's really pretty. Let me do it for the sky too. So like here, these could be out of focus white flowers in a field, or you can make it a sky. So let me just grab some more blue. Maybe it's a night sky. And do the same thing. It can be stars or falling clouds, whatever you want it to be. The reason why I keep switching brushes is just because I want my small brush for the splatters. Just gently You can even use it on your ocean too. Okay, and those blooms, those watermarks that typically we don't always want, actually create a beautiful texture. So you're starting to see those pushback waves now. Sometimes I'll wait till it starts to dry, not when it's like fully wet, and then I'll add a bit more water. And I find sometimes it works a little bit better. So maybe I'll wait for that to dry just a bit more before I add more. But there's that. And then what I was referring to in my first video were florals and how we want to avoid those blooms. But sometimes it's actually really nice to have that texture, and I've seen people do it. So I'm just going to grab some green and I'm going to do some leaves. Okay. And especially if you're doing more of like abstract florals or greenery, it can be really nice to have a different kind of texture. So I would do them normally. I'll wash off my brush, and I would just add extra water in there. And when it dries, you'll see how it kind of like pushes it to the sides. And it gives a really cool effect. So we'll have to see these ones a bit more when they're dry to see the benefits. But that is how you can use those mistakes that we think we make to our advantages. Let me add a couple more flicks on this one. And this is starting to dry. I'll go back and add a bit more water when it's closer to drying time. Okay, so that's how adding more water can actually benefit your work. The next mistake that I was talking about in that video was having not enough water. And that is definitely true. It's a struggle, like if you're trying to create a background, like say you're doing this and you just don't have enough water on your brush mixed with your pigment, you're not going to get like a full sheet of a color. Ultimately, and when I say dry brush, I mean a brush that's been wet but is ultimately like dry. There's no dripping in there, okay? So this is what I mean. So you go into paint and you get this kind of effect, right? And so if you don't have enough water, you're not going to get that nice smooth watercolor texture that you want. But dry brush is actually a technique that you can use, and I do use it sometimes. So one example is fur on an animal. So this is like a little cat head. And then what I will do is I will separate my bristles like this, or you can grab a fan brush or something. And this is a brush that has been wet, but it's dry in the sense that there's no water in it. There's not dripping. So you can manipulate the bristles unlike an actual dry brush. See, if I go like that, it doesn't stay. You want it to be able to kind of stay in that shape, but there's no water running through it. And then you can just go into your paint. Let me just separate it a bit. And you can create this. I even go like this on my palette a bit. And you can create this kind of like fur technique. Now, does this ruin your brush? No, because I'm going to show you how to reshape it after. Obviously, don't be like super hard on it and like stamp it like crazy. But after you're done with it, just wet your brush, dry it on your paper towel, and then just reshape your bristles to a point again. Okay, I have never ruined a brush by doing a dry brush technique. Another way you can do it, so I'm just going to wet up my paints a bit more. Again, it's dry. I'm just going to put it in the paint, so the paint's not too wet. I'm just going to dab it around, and I might just run it over my grass to get a fun texture. Okay, and this is really fun just to add some different textures. Or you can go like this and then add, so your bristles are all kind of misshapen. And you can do some little grass texture like that. Okay, so not having enough water on your brush is actually a technique called dry brush. Okay, so you can use it however you like, especially if you love texture in your work. So it's a mistake when it's not intentional and you want to get like a nice wash, but use it intentionally and it can create some beautiful texture in your paintings. Okay, let's just take a quick look at this because it's almost dry, but there's still a little bit. So I might even see if I can add a bit. No, that's a bit too dry there. You'll see it here. Get a bit more of a bloom there. Okay, and it kind of creates these like crashing waves, which is awesome. I'm just gonna zoom in just a little bit so you can see a bit better. Okay, look at those. I love this for a field where it's like out of focus kind of flowers. And then even this, look at the texture on those leaves. For like an abstract or loose floral painting, I actually kind of like those edges. It just makes the leaves especially look a little bit imperfect, but it's beautiful, right? So that's how to purposely use too much water. This is how to purposefully use not enough water. And then the last mistake in that video was splatter. And if you've watched my videos, you'll know that I actually use splatter in a few cases. Most of the case, it's snow, right? So if I'm ever painting snow, I'll do a splatter with my white ink after. But also if I'm doing, let's say, loose or abstract florals, and try and make this loose. I've done a few abstract floral paintings, okay, where it's just super loose. I grab some green and just can even add some of our too much water technique in there. Have some blooms happening. And then I'll even just grab some of that color and I'll splatter it, right? And it just adds a little something extra to it. It's fun. Okay, so sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? So those were the 3 mistakes, because here they're not mistakes. They are done purposefully. I really hope that's a word. I keep saying it and then go, is that actually how you say it? Mistakes that I'm using to my advantage in my paintings. So sometimes it's not all bad. You just need to know how to use them and use them as the proper techniques. So I hope that was a little eye-opening, because if you're making these mistakes, you're already a pro at them. You just need to add them to your work in a way that makes sense. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye!